Many theists often demand that atheists prove that there is no God, or prove that God didn't create the universe, or that there was no Jesus, or that miracles cannot happen. On the face of them, these questions may seem reasonable, because they are demanding of the atheist, what is the reason for your lack of faith? But in most cases they are not the result of sincere questioning, but are simply a very unsophisticated attempt to lead the atheist into a gotcha trap, because most of them demand that atheists prove a negative. In other words, prove that something didn't happen or didn't exist. Claims for the evidence of God, as well as his creation of the universe, miracles, the resurrection of Jesus, and many other biblical stories are what's known as unfalsifiable, which is simply a posh way of saying that there is no way to prove them untrue. Contrary to the claims of many atheists, unfalsifiable is not the same as untrue. All of the above claims could be true, although it's exceedingly unlikely. It's just that there can never be any incontrovertible evidence that they are true. Many unfalsifiable claims are most likely true, for instance, the existence of black holes. Physics predicts their existence, and there is certainly a wealth of apparently corroborative evidence for their existence. But it is conceivable, for instance, but extremely unlikely, that we are all programs running in the Matrix, and black holes are nothing more than special effects added to test our program's analytical skills. Likewise, the ability of your great-great-great-great-grandmother to feel happiness is unfalsifiable. But it is reasonable to assume that she was capable of feeling the same emotions as the rest of mankind, and that she sometimes did feel happy. It is often extremely difficult, if not impossible, to prove a negative. But I thought perhaps it might be useful to examine why that's the case, as these questions may be a genuine attempt by some theists to seek answers to what they consider to be the core pillars of their beliefs. There are many levels on which it can be hard to prove a negative. For instance, if a theist says, "Prove to me that Sodom and Gomorrah never existed," without a clear date of when those biblical cities supposedly existed and a precise description of where they existed, I don't have enough information to start looking in the right place. Furthermore, even if they did exist, they could have decayed into rubble, leaving no definite signs, or they could be indistinguishable from the hundreds of other nameless ruins that litter the Middle East. Thus, as an honest person, I could never completely dismiss these two explanations for my lack of success. However, what I could do is point out that these cities are referenced nowhere except in the Bible or references to it, and that there were no volcanic events in the 4,000 years BCE capable of producing the fiery destruction described in the Bible. It has been conjectured that an earthquake could have caused hot tar to rain down on a city, but such an event would leave evidence, and none has been found anywhere in the Middle East. The classic case of a negative that cannot be disproven is God himself. It's impossible to disprove the existence of a being who exists outside the realms of space-time and who has properties that cannot be measured in any verifiable way. I would argue that he has been deliberately refined precisely in order to be an increasingly unfalsifiable proposition, forever just beyond the reach of man's ever-increasing knowledge. This is the very epitome of an unprovable negative. Even if I could visit every place in the universe to hunt for God, all the theist needs to do is say, I already told you he exists outside of time and space. I'm sure 2,000 years ago, if you could climb to the top of the highest mountains to search, theists would have said, I told you, God lives in the heavens. I'm certain that if man lives another 1,000,000 years and we become beings that can somehow move outside time and space, there'll be some theist standing and wagging his finger saying, I told you, God exists in that other dimension. However, as has been said many times before, when it comes to the existence of God, or any supposed evidence pointing to him, the burden of proof, as in any other field of endeavour, always lies squarely on the shoulders of the person making the positive claim. Even when people witness supposed miracles or supposed prophecies in the Bible, it is their duty, if they wish to claim these miracles as the work of God, to demonstrate, to reasonable certainty, that he is indeed the only possible agent of these events, and that they could not have been brought about by any other means. But there are many theological negatives that can be disproven to a reasonable person. The story of Noah and the flood is one such example. There are many indisputable facts that make the story unlikely. The fact that there is not enough water on or in the entire planet to produce a flood of the stated magnitude. The fact that it would have had to rain across the entire globe 10 times harder than ever before in the heaviest localised downpours. Which begs the question, how was so much water supposedly suspended in the atmosphere, and what problems would that pose? Furthermore, such a flood would have killed most of the plant life on the planet. Yet in 4,000 years, according to apologetics estimates, the vast diversity of plant life we currently see has come to exist, and without God's hand this time. But the most damning detail of all is the completely indisputable fact that there is no sedimentary record for a global flood. So either you believe that God simply magicked all of the water into and out of existence, in which case why bother with a flood at all when he could simply kill everyone, and you'd also have to believe that he deliberately hid all physical traces of the event despite allowing it to be described in the Bible. Or, to all reasonable evidentiary standards, the flood never occurred. As more and more Bible stories are disproven, the entire theistic rhetoric changes. Stories preached as true for hundreds or thousands of years become parables or allegories. The goalposts are forever shifting so that Christians are not required to provide proof of anything. But be aware of the game that is being played, a fraud that the church and preachers have been working on for 2,000 years, and some of them are getting very good at it. So don't play their game. Instead, simply ask, how do you know that? And when they tell you that it's in the Bible, ask, how do you know that the Bible is true given that so much of it is demonstrably not true? And finally, if they say, the Bible is God's word, return to the first question, how do you know that? And so the perpetual loop continues until they either short-circuit or admit that they cannot know anything in the Bible is true, and if they cannot know that, then they cannot know anything about God. But one final tactic often offered up by the likes of William Lane Craig and John Lennox is that they claim to simply know the existence of God by his witness to their heart, to which you very politely ask, and how is that distinguishable from schizophrenia? Hey guys, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please take the time to rate and comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe. Thank you.